欢迎他来到台上面。
To Prophet Chuck Pierce.
Wow, let's stand up and give a shout.
让我们一起站起来，让我们的主扬声来欢呼。
Now put your hand on someone near you and just say, God is doing a new thing in you.
那把你的手放你隔壁的人身上，告诉他说：“神今日在你身上要做新事。”
Now, before you're seated, let's thank the Lord for Judah, who went first.
那我们在坐下来之前，让我们一起来感谢这个犹大的团队，在我们在神的面前。
It is such an honor to be here. Last night we were, and you can keep standing, Chad. I'm just going to wait till tonight to share, or this afternoon later. What a blessing last night was. How many of you were here last night?
能够在大家中间实在是何等的荣幸！昨天晚上的聚会是很棒。昨天晚上多少人在现场的？请你举手。
I think the DVD will be available for you.
那我相信昨天晚上的聚会那个 DVD 会预备好。
But I really feel that the Lord has determined this time for us.
但我真正的相信主将这一段时间定义为了我们设置。
I believe He's brought us together to see how He is moving to cause us to rise up in a new way.
我相信他召集我们在这里，让我们可以看见他如何要在我们中间施行大事和新事。
Now, Robert and I wrote a book called The Apostolic Church Arising.
那Robert 牧师和我合写了一本书《使徒性教会的兴起》。
This book is in Chinese, so it's available for you.
已经翻译成中文，今天这里可以购买。
But the Apostolic Church is arising worldwide.
使徒性教会不单单在这里兴起，而是在全世界兴起。
The 10-year season we're in through 2019.
那我们在这10年的纪律带领我们直到2019年开始。
Is known as the season of Ayin in Hebrew.
就在希伯来文里，这是一个 Ayin 这个字典的季节。
Ayin is a word that means God is watching.
Ayin 的季节意味着神正在观看，正在看顾。
But Ayin also is a word that means sending.
那 Ayin 这个意思也是差派。
So we are in an apostolic season.
所以如今我们正在一个使徒性的季节里。
When God determines an apostolic season for His people,
当神为他的百姓预备了一个使徒性的季节，
we must demonstrate the characteristics of His apostolic role in the earth.
那我们必须要彰显出这个使徒性的功能在这个全地之上。
Now, I want to remind you that the Lord visited me in 1986.
那我想提醒大家，主在1986年那时候造访了我。
At that time, I was very focused in praying and encouraging the church in the Soviet bloc countries.
那时候神就带领我，特别是在苏联的这些国家之中，来鼓励当地的信徒。
The former Soviet Union.
就是前苏联国。
The Lord had revealed to me the time of change for that nation, for the church.
那神在那个时候向我显明，他要如何在那个地方要带领教会的改变。
But in that time, the Lord visited me and showed me in 10-year increments the church rising up.
但就在那段时间，神向我显明如何每10年看见神的教会要兴起。
He showed me from 1986 to 1996.
他就让我看到86年到96年期间。
He showed me from 96 to 2006.
那从96年到2006年。
He showed me many details of what would happen in each decade.
在每一个10年期间，神向我显明其中会所发生的事情，都是用很细腻的方式来描绘。
I have three books that explain those details.
我著作了3本书，其中记载了所有我看见的细节。
He showed me from 2006 to 2016.
他同时也向我显明2006年一直到2016年期间会发生的事。
And then from 2016 to 2026.
之后就是16年到2026年。
So this decade that we have entered is very key.
所以如今我们正要进入这10年，是非常的关键。
The church the Lord showed me that would have the greatest impact worldwide was the Church of China.
那神就向我显明，在这段期间，对整个世界有最大影响力的教会，就是在中国。
I would have thought he would have shown me the American church.
我当然以为他本来会向我显明是在美国的教会有这样的影响力，
But he began to show me the nation of China and the Church of China.
但是他却向我显明中国和中国里面的教会。
And he said by this last decade, the Chinese church would begin to demonstrate his apostolic power.
他就向我显明，在最后的10年，华人的教会要兴起来，显明使徒性的教会。
Now look at someone next to you and just tell them the Lord has his eye upon us.
你告诉你旁边的人说，主的眼目正在我们的身上。
He's watching the Chinese church.
他留意华人的教会，中国的教会。
He showed me their relationship with Israel.
他向我显明中国教会与以色列的关系。
Now he showed me the apostolic church arising from nation to nation to nation.
他也让我显明说，每一个国家之中，使徒性的教会如何兴起。
But the Chinese church would become a peculiar model in this last decade.
但是在这最后的10年的里面，华人的教会会成为一个特殊的一个模范。
Say this, that time is now.
我们一起来说，现在就是这时候了。
And so since that time I have interceded faithfully for you.
从神向我显明这个意象开始，我就不断的为此衷心的祷告。
We are privileged to travel all over the world and find key groups of people that are rising up to present the kingdom of God in their territory.
那很荣幸的，神差派我们到各个世界不同的国家，能够在其中找到那些关键的人数。那这些人呢，他们就能显明这些神的特性。
That's why today we have people here from Malaysia,
这就为什么今天在我们当中有人从马来西亚来、
Singapore
新加坡来、
Canada,
加拿大来、
Russia.
苏俄来。
But the church that is developing and entering into its future realm of building is the Chinese church.
但是神如今正在建造、在塑造，要即将进入这个完全建造的一个教会，就是华人的教会。
You are in for one of the greatest shakings that will produce a new glory than you have ever seen throughout this land.
那神如今正在震动我们，以至于我们能够进入到一个荣耀，是我们前所未见的。
And the Chinese church has influence worldwide.
那华人教会它的影响力即将抵达全世界各地。
Tonight we will watch and see how the Chinese church has the ability to shut the mouth of the enemy at this time.
今天晚上我们要看见华人的教会如何有能力能够封住仇敌的嘴巴。
So we are here gathered for a time such as this.
所以如今我们召聚在这里，聚集在这里，是为此时此刻的缘故。
And I know of no one who teaches better on the apostolic church arising than Dr. Robert Heidler.
那我知道没有人可以比 Robert 牧师他教导这个使徒性教会的更好的。
Robert is the senior apostolic teacher in our apostolic work.
那在我们这个使徒性的事工的里面 ，Robert 牧师是我们最棒的使徒性教师。
He and his wonderful wife have taught all over the world.
他和他的妻子在全世界各地教导。
And we have brought with us today a team to minister to you as you rise up.
当你们兴起的时候，我们也带了一个团队来服侍大家。
We don't believe you can rise up without worship.
我们相信，如果我们没有敬拜的话，就不能够兴起。
One of our key leaders that travels internationally and leads and brings the sound of heaven into earth is James Vincent. Welcome him here.
然后我们中间有 James Vincent 弟兄，他就在我们中间，全世界各地去把神的同在带到地上。
Our international prayer director is here, Ann Tate. Welcome her here.
我们国际祷告部门的 Ann Tate 也在我们当中。
We have our ambassador who's going all over the world finding the key churches that represent what God is doing in the earth right now. Alan Fabian, please welcome him here.
这位弟兄呢，他就是从我们这里出去到全世界各地找出那些关键的教会或人。
We have my assistant, Chad Foxworth, who travels with me all over the world. Welcome him here.
还有我的助理 Chad， 他也在我们的当中，请大家一起来欢迎他。
And then we have all of you here. Put your hand on somebody and say, I'm glad you came.
同时，在我们中间有你们大家，好不好？让你们把手放在你隔壁的人身上，说欢迎你在我们当中。
Now, another member of our team from Canada that you'll be hearing from tomorrow afternoon is Apostle Alain Caron.
那在我们中间有另外一位，就是从加拿大来的使徒，叫 Alain。
Welcome Alain here with you.
他是从加拿大来的，让我们一起来欢迎他。
So we are here to serve you these 2 days.
就在这2天里，我们在这里是要来服侍大家。
So with that, let's stand and welcome Dr. Robert Heidler to
所以
come
好
and
不好？让我们一
teach.
起站起来欢迎 Robert 牧师。
Thank you, Chuck. Amen. Wow. You know, it's a privilege and an honor to be here.
何等的荣幸能够来到这里！
And I just want to agree with everything that Chuck said.
我就要同意所有 Charles 刚才所说的。
I believe this is God's time for China.
我知道这是神为中国的时刻。
And as we prepared to come here, and even on the way, there was a sense that in coming to this meeting, it was different than any meeting we have ever been at before.
几乎我预备要来到这个特会的过程当中，都觉得不一样。
I think this is a crucial time.
我觉得这是一个很重要的时刻。
I think God is doing some unique things right here, right now, with each one here.
神就在此时此刻，在各位当中在做一个非常独特的事情。
And so I am just honored to be here with you,
所以很荣幸跟大家在这里，
to be present at what God is doing in China.
在神正在中国所做的事情当中有份。
You know, our God is a God of restoration.
我们的神是一位恢复的神。
That means anything Satan has done to you, God can undo it.
任何撒旦所做的事情，神可以恢复它。
Anything Satan has stolen, God can restore.
任何撒旦偷去的东西，神能够得回来。
And God is doing a great work of restoration in the world.
神在世界各地做一个极大的恢复的工作。
But one of the most important things he is restoring is his church.
其中最重要一件，他的恢复的就是他的教会。
See, the church that every one of us has known needs some restoration.
就我们所知道，现在教会的光景需要恢复。
As Eddie said, our pattern for the church is not church tradition,
我们现在教会的模式不是传统的，
because that's gotten messed up in some areas over the
因为
years.
在过去的年间已经混杂了。
Our pattern for the church is the book of Acts.
我们的教会的模式应该是使徒行传。
In the book of Acts, we see the church functioning with a power the church today has never known.
使徒行传当中，教会所运作的这样一个能力，是今天教会所不认识的。
But God is doing a work of restoration.
但神正在恢复之中。
It's God's will to restore everything to the church that it has lost.
所以神要恢复教会所失去的一切。
So the church can operate in the power God intended it to.
所以教会可以在神所意图他要运作的能力之中。
And so the title for my message is The Apostolic Church Advancing.
所以我的信息是使徒性教会正在前进，
Restoring our lost foundation.
恢复我们失去的根基。
See, we live in a day when the church is changing.
我们这处身在教会改变的时代。
Dr. Peter Wagner said the church is now experiencing a bigger change than the Protestant Reformation.
彼得·魏格纳牧师说，教会正经历比宗教改革更大的改变。
Chuck Pierce has said the church is in the midst of a leadership revolution.
查皮尔说，教会正在经历领袖的革命。
Cindy Jacobs said the church has entered the second Reformation.
Cindy Jacobs 说，教会已进入二次的改革。
And so, what is God doing in the church today?
神正在教会做什么呢？
And to understand where God is taking us, I believe it's good to understand where we've been.
要了解神要带我们去哪里，先要知道我们以前在什么地方。
Like Eddie said, we want to go back to the book of Acts and see what the church was when God first set it up.
因此，我们要回到使徒行传，看早期的教会神是如何设立的。
And so I want to begin by giving you a quick picture of what the early church was like.
所以要很快让大家看到初代教会是什么样子。
You know, on the first day of Pentecost, the Holy Spirit fell on 120 people.
在五旬节的时候，圣灵降在120个人身上。
By the end of that day, God had added more than 3,000 men and women to the church.
在那天结束，神加了3000的人在教会当中。
Within a year, historians tell us the Jerusalem church tripled in size, numbering more than 10,000.
1年之内，耶路撒冷教会的规模增加3倍，达到1万多人。
Some estimate that by the time Stephen was killed in Acts chapter 6 and 7, the church had probably grown to 20,000.
在使徒行传6、7章的时候，有人估计司提反被杀的时候，教会已经增长到2万人。
Many believe the church eventually made up half the population of Jerusalem.
很多人相信教会最终组成耶路撒冷人口的1半。
That's called church growth.
这就叫教会增长。
But it didn't just happen in Jerusalem.
但是不只发生在耶路撒冷。
That kind of explosive growth took place anywhere the church was planted.
在那时候，教会不管在什么地方开始，每个地方都有爆炸性的成长。
In Acts chapter 19, we see the church at Ephesus.
在使徒行传19章看到以弗所的教会。
Paul went to Ephesus, he started a church, and he remained there for 2 years teaching his converts.
保罗去了以弗所建立教会，而且在那里留2年教导初信的人。
During that 2-year period, it says the entire city was evangelized.
在这2年期间，整个城市都听到福音了。
Ephesus was probably the 3rd or 4th largest city in the world at that time.
以弗所在那时候是在全世界第3或第4大的城市。
Not only was Ephesus evangelized, all the cities in the surrounding province were reached.
不单单以弗所，还有附近省份的城市都传了福音了。
The church grew so rapidly, the economy of the city was affected.
那教会是这么快速的增长，甚至到当地的经济都受到影响。
Ephesus was the home of the goddess Diana.
那以弗所是戴安娜女神的家乡。
It had a huge temple in her honor.
在那边有她的庙宇。
One of the main industries in the city was manufacturing silver idols of the goddess Diana.
其中当地的一个产业就是制造着戴安娜女神的偶像。
But during that 2-year period that Paul was there, the church grew so rapidly that it affected the economy.
那在那2年保罗在的时间，教会增长的快速，甚至影响了当地的经济情况。
So many people were getting saved, nobody wanted to buy idols of Diana anymore.
太多的人得救了，所以不再有人想要买这些偶像了。
And the idol makers got so angry at their loss of business, they rioted in the streets.
制造偶像的人非常生气，他们在城市里面就有了暴动。
Wouldn't you like to see that happen in your city?
你想不想在你城市也看到一样的情况呢？
Imagine so many people in Hong Kong getting saved that the drug dealers riot in the streets because nobody's buying their drugs anymore.
想象香港有许多人得救，就这些卖毒品的人在街上示威，因为没有人要买他们的产品了。
And we're told eventually half the city of Ephesus was saved and in the church.
那当时以弗所教会就是这样的情况。
By the year 112,
在7月12年的时候，
the Roman author Pliny wrote a letter of complaint to the Roman emperor.
那时候罗马一个作者 Pliny 他写信有这样一个抱怨。
He was concerned about conditions in the province of Asia Minor where Ephesus was.
他的抱怨关心在小亚细亚地区，就是以弗所那个女神庙所在的地方。
He said, in the province of Asia Minor, temples to heathen gods are almost totally forsaken, and Christians are everywhere a multitude.
因为那边少数民族的庙宇、异教的神庙几乎完全被遗弃，而且基督徒是无处不在。
The church came in, and the world had no power against it.
教会进来了，教会世界没有任何能力来抵挡它。
We wonder, what was that early church like?
那早期的教会是什么样子的呢？
You know, most of us have never imagined a church like the early church.
很少人去想象早期教会是什么样子的。
They had an entirely different concept of church.
他们对教会有完全不同的观念。
Most of the things most Christians think of when they think about church did not exist back then.
现在大部分人想到教会的一些情况是当年是没有的。
No one in the early church had ever seen a church building.
早期教会没人看到什么建筑物，
They had never seen a stained glass window or a church bulletin.
他们没有看过这些彩绘玻璃或是教会的周刊，
They had never seen a steeple or a pulpit or a pew.
他们没有看过建筑的尖顶或是讲台或是这些的长凳，
They didn't even have PowerPoint projectors.
他们没有这些投影机这些东西，
They had no special clergy to perform the ministry.
他们也没有特别的神职人员来做各样的事工。
Instead, they had apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, and evangelists who equipped every believer to minister.
但他们有使徒、先知、牧师、教师和传福音的，去装备每一个人去服侍。
We wonder, what was that early church like?
我们在想说，究竟早期的教会是什么样子？
Well, to answer that, I'm going to take all of us with me in a time machine.
所以要回答这个问题，我们就一起来拜访早期的教会。
We're going to go back in time and visit a gathering of the early church.
回到早年，我们去拜访当年的一个教会。
What we're going to see will surprise some of us.
我们所看到的会让我们意外。
You won't see much that looks familiar.
你看到的跟今天所熟悉的是不一样的。
So let's turn on our sanctified imaginations
所以让我们开始这样一个圣化的想象力，
and let's visit the early church.
来造访一个早期的教会。
Everything I say is going to be based on the New Testament and other early Christian writings.
我所说的是根据新约，还有一些初代教会的作品。
So imagine yourself walking down a street in ancient Rome.
所以想象你行走在的古老的罗马街道上面，
It's 95 AD.
是西历95年，
More than 60 years have passed since Pentecost.
是五旬节之后大约60多年的时间。
And we're about to drop in on a typical church at that time.
所以我们即将拜访那时候一个典型的教会。
The time is Saturday evening.
时间是星期六的晚上。
Because by Jewish reckoning, the first day of the week began Saturday at sundown.
因为按照犹太人的计算，一星期的第一天是星期六的日落开始。
Now, the early church met in many places, but following Jewish practice, their primary place of worship was the home.
早期教会在各式各样的地方聚集，但是犹太人的做法，他们主要敬拜场所是在家里。
And again, get ready for a case of culture shock, because you're not going to see much that looks familiar.
所以，当我们进入的时候，要准备好面对一个文化的冲击，因为我们看到的可能都是陌生的。
So we arrive at the door of a typical Roman house, and we are warmly welcomed by the host.
所以我们到达一个典型的罗马住家的门口，受到屋主热烈的欢迎。
As we walk through the door, you look across the entrance into the large open courtyard of the home, and it looks like they're having a party.
当我们走进大门，在那个院子里面看的时候，他们似乎在开派对。
Some of the people are playing flutes and lyres and tambourines.
有些人正在吹笛子、弹琴、打手鼓。
Others are singing and dancing and clapping their hands.
其他人在那边唱歌、跳舞、拍手。
You look around to make sure you've come to the right house.
你看四围，你要确定你来对的地方。
But then you listen and you realize the words of the songs are praise to Jesus.
只是当你细听他们所唱歌，你会发现他们正在唱赞美耶稣的歌。
That's how the early church praised God.
这是早期教会他们怎么样来赞美神。
It was a free and joyful celebration with a lot of singing and dancing.
是一个自由快乐的庆祝活动，有大量的歌唱和跳舞。
Because of their Jewish background, they often got in a circle and danced Jewish-style ring dances.
因为按照犹太人他们舞蹈的方式，他们是围起圈来跳舞。
Here's how a writer named Clement of Alexandria described the worship of the early church.
所以亚历山大的格里勉他有这样子的描述当时教会。
Writing around the year 250, he said, "The daughters of God lead in a ring dance."
在西历25年的时候，他这样写说：“神的儿女们带领着跳舞的圆圈。”
The righteous are the dancers. The music is the song of the King of the universe.
公义的人是舞者，音乐献给宇宙之王。
The maidens strike the lyre, the angels praise, the prophets speak, the sound of music issues forth.
少女们弹琴，天使赞美，先知说话，音乐涌流出来。
They run and pursue the jubilant band.
他们跑步并且追逐欢庆的乐队。
Those that are called make haste, eagerly desiring to receive the Father.
那些蒙召的人迫不及待，渴望迎接天父。
Now, as the songs slow down a little, many get down on their knees before the Lord.
当歌曲慢下来的时候，许多人就在主面前跪下来。
Most are lifting up hands to Him.
大多数人向他来举手。
A tremendous sense of the Lord's presence fills the courtyard.
所以主的同在厚厚的充满在庭院里。
As we enter into the worship, we are overwhelmed by the love and acceptance of the people.
当我们在参与崇拜的时候，被弟兄姊妹的爱和接纳充满了。
Then after much singing and dancing, food is brought out.
在许久的歌唱跟跳舞之后，他们拿出食物来。
People find their seats and prepare for a meal.
他们找到自己的座位，准备吃饭。
This meal is described by the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians, also in the books of Jude and Peter.
这顿饭就像保罗在哥林多前书所描述的，犹大书跟彼得书信也提过。
It was called the love feast or the agape.
或是他们称为爱宴，或是这神圣的爱。
To begin the meal, the woman of the house lights the candles and says a special prayer of thanksgiving.
开始吃饭的时候，女主人会点起蜡烛，献上感恩的祷告。
Then one of the leaders takes a cup, blesses the Lord, and passes it around so each can drink from it.
所以一位领袖拿起杯，祝谢了，并他传给每一个人喝。
Then he takes bread and offers thanks, and it's also passed from person to person.
然后他又拿起一条面包，祝谢了，也把它传给每一个人。
That was the Lord's Supper in its original context.
这就是主的晚餐原本的情境。
The meal is a joyful time centered on devotion to the Lord.
所以吃饭的时候是一段快乐的时光，全然献给主。
As they eat, the believers talk about God. They share testimonies, discuss scripture, and sing praises.
当他们吃饭的时候，就会谈论神的话，分享见证，讨论圣经，赞美主。
During the meal, one of the leaders stands and reads a letter they received that week from an apostle named Junia.
所以吃饭的时候，其中一位领袖就站起来读了一封从使徒尤尼亚寄来的信。
Now, Junia was not one of the original 12, but by that time, there were many apostles in the church.
尤尼亚不是最初12使徒之一，但在这个时候，教会已经有许多的使徒。
As you listen, you're surprised to discover that Junia is a woman.
当你听到，你会惊讶地发现尤尼亚是一个女人。
But then you remember that in Romans chapter 16, Paul describes a woman named Junia as outstanding among the apostles.
然后你会记得，在罗马书16章当中，保罗提到有一个名叫尤尼亚的女人，在使徒当中是有名望的。
The leaders of this church had written to Junia several weeks earlier to seek advice on some issues.
那这些教会的领导人几个星期前写信给尤尼亚，就某些的问题来寻求建议。
In her letter, Junia carefully addressed each of their concerns.
所以在尤尼亚的信中，尤尼亚他仔细地解决了他们每一个问题。
It's clear that everyone present holds Junia in high regard, for they all pay careful attention.
所以很明显的，所有人都高度重视尤尼亚。
After the meal ends, worship continues until at some point a change begins to take place.
所以饭后敬拜继续进行，直到一个时刻，改变开始发生了。
There's a subtle shift in the atmosphere.
整个气氛有微妙的改变。
The air seems to thicken.
整个环境似乎变，空气似乎变得厚重。
A tangible sense of God's presence comes and rests in the place.
一个神可经历的同在来到这个地方。
Paul writes that when the church assembles, the power of the Lord comes and is present with them.
保罗写到，当教会聚集的时候，主耶稣的全能降临，并与他们同在。
And so as the glory of God came down into Moses' tabernacle and Solomon's temple, now his glory comes and rests in his church.
如同当年神的荣耀降临在摩西的帐幕跟所罗门的圣殿，他的荣耀也在他的教会之中。
As they sense God's presence, some fall to the ground in worship, others lift their hands to welcome him.
当感觉到神的同在的时候，有些人在敬拜当中倒在地上，有些人就举手来欢迎他。
And as the presence of God rests in their midst, ministry begins to take place.
因为神的同在停留在他们的中间，服事就开始发生了。
This ministry is described in 1 Corinthians 14.
那这样的服事在更多前书14章有描述。
Paul said, when you come together, everyone has a hymn.
当你们聚集的时候，保罗描述个人或有诗歌。
Or a word of instruction, or a revelation, or a tongue, or an interpretation.
会有教训，会有启示，会有方言，会有翻出来的话。
He said, if anyone speaks in a tongue, 2 or at most 3 should speak, 1 at a time, and someone must interpret.
凡事都当造就人，若有说方言之后，2个人或3个人，且要轮流的说，也要1个人翻出来。
2 or 3 prophets should speak, and the others should weigh carefully what is said.
至于做先知讲道，只要2个或3个，其他就慎思明辨。
You can all prophesy in turn so that everyone may be instructed and encouraged.
你们都可以一个一个做先知讲道，叫众人学道理，叫众人得劝勉。
You look around, it's clear this is a time when every believer was expected and encouraged to exercise their spiritual gifts.
当你四处看，每一个信徒都被鼓励，都实际在那边履行属灵恩赐的时刻。
It looks like everybody is ministering.
看起来主每一个人都在服侍。
A woman gives a word of knowledge for healing.
一个姐妹说出了医治的知识言语。
A man raises his hand and said, "That's me."
那有人就举手说，说的就是我。
People gather around and pray. He's instantly healed.
人们就聚集为他祷告，他立即就得医治了。
Someone else reads a passage of scripture.
有人读了一段经文，
A teacher gives an explanation of the passage.
那这有个教师就为这段经文做解释。
A woman sings a beautiful prophetic song.
有一个姐妹唱了一首很优美的先知性的歌。
Many are so touched by its beauty and anointing, they begin to weep.
很多人被诗歌的优美跟恩膏所触动，就开始哭泣。
Prophetic words are given. There are tongues and interpretation.
那有先知性的言语被释放，有方言跟翻方言的。
More songs of praise are sung.
大家唱更多的赞美诗。
And then a man introduces a family sitting back toward the back.
那有一个弟兄就介绍了坐在后排的家庭。
You've noticed them back there. They look uncomfortable. This looks like their first time to come.
他们坐在那边看起来好像不太舒服，像是第一次参加聚会的。
And they've come because their 12-year-old daughter has developed an illness that has left her blind.
他们之所以来，是因为他们的12岁的女儿得了病，失明了。
But they've heard people can get healed at church.
但他们听说来到教会能够得医治，
So they've come for the church to pray for her.
所以他们来到教会，希望得到祷告。
The elders anoint her and pray.
所以长老们膏抹她，为她祷告。
And suddenly the little girl begins to cry.
突然之间，这小女孩开始哭泣，
With tears streaming down her face, she shouts, "I can see! I can see!"
她泪流满面的喊叫说：“我看见了，我看见了。”
The mother crouches down and hugs her, and within a few minutes, the entire family is saved, giving their hearts to Jesus.
所以母亲蹲下来抱着小女孩，几分钟之内，全家人都得救了，把心献给耶稣。
That was evangelism in the early church.
这就是早期教会传福音的情况。
Irenaeus, a writer who lived around 195,
在西历195年，这位艾任纽他这样说。
says that prophetic words, tongues, and miracles of healing were common in the church in his day.
他说，先知性的言语、方言和医治的神迹是时常平常看见的。
He adds that the church frequently saw people raised from the dead through the prayers of the saints.
他又说，因着圣徒的祷告，教会当常看到人从死里复活。
You know, that's a good technique for church growth.
所以这是个教会增长很好的方式。
Just raise a few people from the dead from time to time.
这是偶尔让几个人从死里复活，
Your church will grow.
你的教会就会增长。
Now, this meeting runs late into the night, but nobody seems to notice.
那这聚会持续到深夜，但没有人察觉到。
Finally, the meeting begins to break up.
终于，最后大家开始分散了。
The sense of the Lord's presence begins to lift, but there are several small groups still gathered in prayer.
圣灵的同在的感觉慢慢的减退，但是还有几个小组聚集在一起祷告。
As people prepare to leave, there's a great deal of hugging and kissing.
那大家准备离开的时候，大家都在这边彼此拥抱和亲吻。
You're impressed that these people love each other. They act like this is their family.
这些人的彼此相爱让你印象深刻，他们真是像是家人一般。
And it is.
确实是家人。
You just visited the weekly reunion of the family of God.
你刚才所造访的就是神家的每一周的聚集。
Now, how many would like to be part of a church like
有
that?
多少人想要成为这样教会的一部分？
That's what the early church was like.
这就是早期教会的模式。
On any given Saturday evening, there would have been hundreds of such gatherings all over the city of Rome.
在每个星期六的晚上，在罗马各地就有数百个像这样的聚会。
That's how they did church in Jerusalem and Antioch and Corinth and Ephesus.
这就是他们在耶路撒冷、安提阿、哥林多和以弗所的教会运作的情形。
That's the kind of church the Apostle Paul planted wherever he went.
这就是使徒保罗所建立的教会，不管他去到什么地方。
Every believer was trained to use their gifts and to minister in the power of God.
每个信徒都受到训练，要用他们的恩赐和在神的大能当中来服侍。
And that's how the church met for over 300 years.
所以从开始300多年，教会都是这样的聚集，
It spread everywhere.
它传到各个地方，
Nothing could stand against it.
没有任何事物能够抵挡它。
Starting at 120 people in the upper room in Jerusalem,
从耶路撒冷马可楼上120位开始，
the church by the end of the century stretched from Germany to the north to sub-Sahara Africa on the south.
所以到那世纪末的时候，北边达到德国，南边达到撒哈拉以南的非洲，
From England on the east to India on the west.
左边到英国到印度。
In Acts 5:28, the high priest complains, "You have filled Jerusalem with your teaching."
随着祭司埋怨说：“你们把你们道理充满了耶路撒冷。”
By the end of the century, they had filled the known world with their teaching.
他们满了他的教导，在整个罗马帝国里。
In Acts 17, Paul goes into a pagan city.
那在使徒行传17章，保罗去了一个外邦的城市，
And some of the pagans recognize him.
那些异教徒认识他，
And they go running through the streets of the city saying, "These men that have turned the world upside down have come here too."
他们在街头上喊叫说：“这些扰乱天下的也到这里来了。”
Wouldn't you love that to happen when you come to town?
我们也让你到一个城市的时候，让这样的事情也发生吧。
Within 67 years, the church took the gospel to the entire known world.
所以在67年之内，早期教会就把福音带到了当时的世界的尽头。
Everywhere it went, it grew rapidly.
不管去到什么地方，教会都快速的增长。
One house church would be planted in a city and quickly multiply to hundreds of house churches with 30 or 40,000 Christians.
一个家庭教会被拓置在某个城市，而且迅速倍增上百上千的教会与3、4万个基督徒。
Some estimate that by the end of the 3rd century, half the population of the Roman Empire had converted to Christianity.
有人估计到第3世纪末的时候，罗马帝国有1半的人口是基督徒。
We wonder, how did the church do it?
那早期的教会是怎么做到的？
Well, they did not operate like most of the church today.
他们不像今天大多数的教会一样运作。
Churches in the New Testament did not have a pastor to minister to them.
在新约的教会没有一个牧师来服侍他们，
Instead, they have 5 key gifts.
但是他们有5个重要的恩赐。
Ephesians 4 says God gave the church apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers.
以弗所书4章提到说，神赐给教会有使徒、有先知、有传福音的、有牧师、有教师。
And the purpose of those 5 gifts was to equip God's people for the work of ministry.
这5项恩赐的目的是装备圣徒，各尽其职。
I like to describe it this way.
我想要用这种方式来描述。
Those 5 gifts form a wineskin to hold the new wine of the Spirit.
这5项恩赐形成一个新皮带，来承载圣灵的新酒。
Where we find those 5 gifts in operation, the church grows.
那凡是有5重执事运作的地方，教会就增长，
It becomes a supernatural church that impacts the world.
成为一个超自然的教会，影响世界。
So let's look at these 5 gifts Jesus gave.
那我们来看耶稣所赐下这5样的恩赐。
First, there are apostles.
首先是使徒，
They represent God's authority.
他们代表神的主权。
They're men and women gifted by God to set the church in order so 5-fold ministry can work.
他们是或男或女，他们是为神所为教会设立次序的，好叫这5重执事能够来运作。
Then there are prophets.
然后有先知，
Prophets release God's vision.
他们要释放出神的意象。
They're men and women gifted by God to establish prophetic revelation in the church, giving God's vision and direction.
他们是蒙恩赐的或男或女，在教会中释放先知启示神的意象和方向。
There are teachers.
有教师，
They bring God's instruction.
他们带来神的指示。
They're men and women gifted by God to impart an understanding of God's will and His ways to train the church to fulfill its call.
他们是释放对神的心意和计划的理解，训练教会完成命定。
There are pastors.
有牧师，
Pastors convey God's care.
他们传达神的关爱。
They're men and women gifted to comfort and nurture and protect the flock and help establish new believers.
他们安慰、照顾、保护羊群，并且建立初信者。
There are evangelists who manifest God's power.
有传福音的，他们彰显神的大能。
They're men and women gifted by God to save the lost. They often operate through signs and miracles.
他们拯救灵魂，借着神迹奇事来运作。
And see, that was God's plan for church ministry.
这是神对教会执事的计划，
That's called 5-fold ministry.
这称为5重执事。
And all 5 of those gifts share one common purpose,
这5重执事有一个共同的目标，
and that is to equip the saints.
他们就要成全圣徒，
That means to equip every believer to do the work of ministry.
也就是成全每一个信徒要来各尽其职。
See, God's plan was for every church was to be full of people who could do the works of Jesus wherever they went.
所以神的计划是让每间教会充满装备好的服事人员，到每一处做耶稣的工作。
And the result was revival.
结果就是复兴。
Now, I want to give you a picture of how all 5 of these work together to equip the saints.
所以来看这5重执事合作的方式。
Now, if you're going to equip the saints, the first thing you need to have are some saints.
所以你要来装备圣徒，首先他们要得救，
You need to have some believers.
必须要先有信徒，
So we need evangelists.
所以我们需要传福音的，
They win people to Jesus.
他们领人归主，
They love to give birth to baby Christians.
他们要让这些基督徒能够生出来。
But you know, new Christians are sort of like babies.
那新的基督徒就像婴孩一样，
They need a lot of care.
需要很多的关照，
They need to be comforted. They need to be protected.
需要被安慰，需要被保护。
That's why we need pastors.
这是为什么我们需要牧师？
Their heart is to comfort and care for new believers.
他们的心就是要来关心、照顾这些初信者。
But you know, the problem is sometimes people get saved and they're comforted and they're cared for, and they stay there being comforted and cared for the rest of their lives.
那问题是说，有些人得了救了，他们蒙了关心，蒙了照顾，可是他们一生之久就不断的被关心和照顾。
But see, God has more for you than to be comforted and protected.
但神的心意是远超过只是被关心和照顾。
That's why you need prophets.
这是为什么你们需要先知？
Prophets give vision.
先知释放意象。
The prophet will speak to a baby Christian and said, I'm glad you're comfortable and well cared for, but you have a call of God on your life.
先知要对这些信徒说，你们是被我们关心照顾，但是你在生命当中，神对你有个呼召。
You have spiritual gifts you need to learn to use.
你要学习怎么样使用属灵的恩赐。
And so the prophet will give that new Christian vision for their destiny.
所以先知会给这些初信者他们一个意向和方向。
Now, where you have prophets, people get a lot of vision.
那有先知就有许多的意向产生，
They have a lot of motivation.
他们就有很多的动机。
They sometimes try to go out and do things and they fall flat on their face
但有些人就这样出去想要做事情，可是却失败了，
because they don't really know how to do what they're called to do.
因为他们不知道怎么样去做蒙召要做的事。
That's why you need teachers.
这是我们需要教师的原因。
Teachers are there to train and instruct.
教师要来训练跟教导，
But beyond all of that, there are apostles.
但在这一切之上需要使徒。
The apostles have set the whole thing in order so that it works.
使徒设立次序，使这整个能够运作。
They send people out into their ministry.
他差遣人进入到服事之中。
And where all 5 of those are in operation, the saints are equipped.
当这5重都运作的时候，圣徒就得着装备，
The church becomes a mighty army.
教会就能够成为大能的军队。
Now, every Christian needs all 5 of these ministries if they are to grow.
所以每个信徒都需要全部的5重执事去帮助他们成长。
If you're not receiving ministry from all 5 of those, something is missing.
如果你没有接受这5重所有的服事的话，就表示有些错过了，失去了。
The problem is, in a traditional church today, most Christians never receive all 5 of those.
但问题是，今天大部分的信徒都没有机会做到全部这5重的服事。
Most churches today do not have 5-fold ministry.
现在大部分的教会没有5重执事，
Most churches follow a traditional pastoral model.
大部分的教会都是用传统牧养型的架构。
All ministry is performed by one very tired, overworked, generic minister.
所有的事工都交给一个过分操劳的仆人，就是牧师在做。
His job is not to equip the saints.
他的工作不是装备圣徒，
His job is to do all the ministry himself.
他的工作就亲自去做所有的事工。
Then you have a congregation.
然后有会众，
It's made up of laymen.
是由平信徒所组成的。
That's not a biblical word.
这个平信徒不是一个属圣经的字，
The word layman means those who have no knowledge or training.
代表平信徒在没有训练、没有知识的人。
God never intended his church to be full of people who have no knowledge or training.
这从来不是神的心意，在他教会当中充满没有知识、没有训练的人。
But the laymen come to church, they tithe, they try to live good lives, but they're not expected to minister.
他们来到教会，他们十一奉献，然后他们期望活出有道德的生活，可是却没有期待要服侍。
In the pastoral church, most Christians are never built to maturity or equipped to minister effectively.
在传统牧养型架构的教会当中，大部分的信徒从来没有成熟或被装备有效的去服侍。
They don't learn to heal the sick and give prophetic words and win the lost and teach and encourage and drive out demons.
他们没有学过怎么样医治病人、发预言、得引灵魂，或是教导、鼓励或赶鬼。
The result, the church does not reach the world.
所以教会没有办法接触世界，
It barely sustains itself.
甚至不能够维持本身的运作。
And the poor, overworked pastor is just exhausted trying to make it all work.
所以可怜的过劳的牧师就想办法要让每一件事情都能够管用。
See, that's not how it was in the book of Acts.
但是这不是在使徒行传当中所描述的。
The New Testament church did not give a generic pastor label to all of its leaders and give them all the same job description.
新约里面并没有只是描述牧师一个职位，然后他做所有的事工。
In the book of Acts, some were called apostles.
使徒行传当中有些称为使徒的，
Some were called prophets.
有些称为先知的，
Some were called teachers.
有称为教师的，
Some were called pastors.
有称为牧师的，
Some were called evangelists.
有称为传福音的。
And they each knew what they were.
他们彼此认识对方，
They knew their gifts were different.
他们也知道彼此恩赐不同，
Nobody was expected to do everything.
没人被期待要做所有的事情，
And because of that, they knew they needed each other.
因此他们彼此需要。
That's the fivefold ministry of the church.
这就是教会的五重职事。
And you know, God has been speaking to his church prophetically about fivefold ministry for over 30 years.
在过去30年，神已经先知性的跟教会讲五重职事多年了，
But very few churches have made the shift.
但是很少教会来改变。
Really, until the last few years, I know of only a handful of churches that really operated in fivefold ministry.
直到最近的几年，才有几间的教会用五重职事方式在运作。
I've gone to many countries, taught on fivefold ministry. People get excited. They say, yes, that's great. That's what we want.
我去到很多的国家教导五重职事的事情，他们都很兴奋，说这是我们所要的。
And the pastors are more excited about it than anybody because they knew they can't do it all themselves.
牧师比所有人更兴奋，因为他们知道他们自己一个人没有办法做所有的事情。
They get very excited about fivefold ministry, but I come back the next year and nothing had changed.
他们很兴奋关于五重职事，可是第二年我再回去，没有什么改变。
What was the problem?
问题是什么呢？
What I found is for many of the churches, the problem is a lack of fivefold ministers.
因为问题就是说，他们教会里面没有这样五重职事，
Most churches did not have all five.
大部分教会没有包括所有的五重职事的人。
The pastor would stand up and look around his congregation. See, I don't see apostles and prophets and evangelists and teachers here.
牧师站在台上看他的会众，说：“我没有看到使徒、先知、传福音等等的。”
So they'd say, well, I'd like for us to do that, but we don't have the resources.
他说：“我想这样做，但是我没有这样的资源。”
They say, well, maybe someday we'll be able to do that, but we can't do it now.
或许他说：“哎，等等吧，那我们现在没办法来做。”
So I asked myself the question,
因此，我问自己这样的问题：
how did the New Testament church operate in fivefold ministry?
那新约当时的教会是怎么样运作五重职事的？
As we said, most churches in the New Testament were small house churches.
初代的教会大部分都是小型的家庭教会，
Their average size was probably 20 or 30 people.
平均大概是20到30个人。
Hardly any of those churches would have had apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers in the
所
congregation.
以很少的教会的会众有这样备齐五种这样职事的人。
So I asked the question, how did the New Testament church operate in fivefold ministry?
因此我就不断问说，初代教会他们怎么样运作这样的五重职事呢？
And so I read the book of Acts.
所以我就去读《使徒行传》。
and I found the answer.
我找到答案了。
I discovered the biblical key to operation of fivefold ministry was what I call the apostolic center.
所以我发现圣经运作五重职事的要诀在于使徒性中心。
As you study the book of Acts, you discover that every time the church penetrates a new geographical area or a new ethnic group, it established an apostolic center.
在使徒行传当中，你会发现每一次教会渗透一个地区或是一个族群，他们就会设立使徒性的中心。
It was a beachhead for the gospel in the territory.
使徒性中心是一个地区的福音的桥头堡，
It was a teaching and training center,
是教导和训练的中心，
a gathering place for celebrations,
是庆典聚集的地方，
a sending center for apostolic teams,
是差派信徒服侍团队出去的地方，
a resource center for the churches,
是各教会的资源中心，
a place where even a very small house church had full access to fivefold ministry.
使每个小型的家庭教会他们都能够领受五重职事的服侍。
See, as a result of being connected to an apostolic center, churches were not weak and isolated.
因为他们连接在一个使徒性中心，因此这些各个教会不至于软弱孤立，因为有使徒性网络。
They were apostolically linked.
他们是一个使徒性的网络。
Even a house church of 2 or 3 people meeting in their living room, had access to apostles and prophets and teachers and pastors and evangelists.
集会一间只有3个人的教会，他们在客厅里面聚会，他们都可以接触使徒、先知、传福音、牧师和教师。
And the result was the churches flourished.
所以使得教会兴旺起来，
The saints were equipped and spiritual gifts were released.
圣徒得到装备、恩赐被赐下。
The church became a supernatural church, and signs and wonders took place.
教会就成为一个超自然的教会，神迹奇事出现。
Now, where did the church get the idea of an apostolic center?
所以教会是从哪里得到这个使徒中心的想法呢？
I'm convinced they got it from the Jews.
我相信他们是从犹太人那边学到的。
See, when God created the church in Acts chapter 2, He gave it an incredible foundation.
神在使徒行传第2章建立教会的时候，给了一个很精彩的一个基础。
For 2,000 years, He had formed and fashioned the Jewish people, preparing a people through whom He could send Messiah.
因为在这之前的2000年，神就塑造了犹太民族，准备他们成为带出弥赛亚的民族。
And the things that God gave the Jews in the Old Testament formed the foundation that the New Testament church was built on.
神在旧约中给犹太人的东西，成为新约基督教会建立的根基。
See, all the first apostles were Jews.
所以第一代的使徒都是犹太人，
All of their lives, they had gone down to Jerusalem to celebrate the feasts.
他们一生都会去耶路撒冷庆祝节期。
Jerusalem was the center of everything they did.
耶路撒冷是他们所做一切的中心，
And so Jerusalem became the model for an apostolic center.
所以耶路撒冷成为使徒性中心的典范。
Jerusalem had always been a center for Israel.
所以耶路撒冷一直都是以色列人的中心。
The Jews worshiped in their homes on Friday night or in the synagogue on Shabbat, but all Jews, wherever they lived, were linked by a connection to a central hub called Jerusalem.
犹太人在家里敬拜或在会堂当中敬拜，但不管住在什么地方，犹太人都会连接于他们的中心，就是耶路撒冷。
Jerusalem was where the presence of God was hosted in the earth.
那耶路撒冷是神同在停留的地方，
It was a place of gathering.
是一个聚集的地方。
3 times a year, every Jew was to come to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast.
犹太人每年3次要到耶路撒冷过节。
And see, Jerusalem's function for the early church was very similar to its function for the Jews.
所以耶路撒冷对初代教会的功能，就像犹太人的传统一样。
As you read the book of Acts, you find it was a place of intensive teaching and training.
在使徒行传当中，我们会发现耶路撒冷是密集教导及训练的地方，
It was a place of gathering.
是一个聚集的地方。
Christians continued to come back to Jerusalem to celebrate biblical feasts.
基督徒也是回到耶路撒冷来庆祝这些圣经的节日。
In Acts chapter 20, Paul cut his 3rd missionary journey short to get back to Jerusalem in time for the Feast of Pentecost.
使徒行传20章上提到，保罗第3次的宣教之旅，也是因为要回到耶路撒冷来庆祝五旬节而缩短。
Jerusalem was a place of sending.
耶路撒冷也是一个差派的地方。
Jews from Jerusalem went out to Judea and Samaria and Galilee.
从耶路撒冷差出去的犹大，在撒玛利亚、加利利。
Barnabas was sent to Antioch to establish the church there.
那巴拿巴也是用耶路撒冷差去安提阿建立教会。
Jerusalem was a place of conference.
那耶路撒冷也是一个会议的地方。
In Acts 15, when a major issue needed to be settled, church leaders met together in Jerusalem to sort it out.
使徒行传15章，他有重大的事情要解决的时候，领袖们都聚集在耶路撒冷要来解决。
It was a place of giving.
也是一个奉献的地方。
In Acts 4:35, the saints brought their offerings and laid them at the apostles' feet.
所以在使徒行传第4章提到，圣徒把钱都放在使徒脚前，每天教会都收集奉献，供给耶路撒冷教会。
In the epistles, we see various churches taking up offerings for the church in Jerusalem.
那我们看到各个教会这样收奉献带到耶路撒冷，
And so Jerusalem became a resource center,
所以耶路撒冷也成为一个资源中心，
a place where all the scattered churches could have access to high-level ministry.
所以分散的教会可以得到更高层次的服事。
And people traveled to Jerusalem to receive ministry.
人们来到耶路撒冷来领受教导，
But the Jerusalem church also set out fivefold ministers to the churches.
耶路撒冷也差派5重执事到其他教会。
When the Antioch church was being established, Jerusalem sent apostles and prophets to build a foundation for fivefold ministry there.
当安提阿教会被建立的时候，耶路撒冷差派使徒跟先知去建立5重执事。
And you know, the apostolic center in Jerusalem equipped the saints so effectively.
耶路撒冷的使徒性中心，它是如此有效的装备圣徒。
By Acts chapter 8, we're told ordinary, everyday Christians were going out all over the territory, healing the sick, casting out demons, proclaiming the gospel, and planting new churches.
所以到了使徒行传第8章，我们看到普通一般的信徒都走遍各城各乡，医治病人、赶鬼、宣传福音，并且建立教会。
Now, here we're coming to something very important.
所以我们现在看到一个很重要的一点。
Now, we all know what happened in Jerusalem was very important.
我们都知道，在耶路撒冷所发生的事情很重要。
But what God wants us to see is Jerusalem was just the beginning.
但神的心意说，耶路撒冷不过是个开始而已。
Because as you continue reading the book of Acts, you discover the church quickly planted a second apostolic
当我们
center.
继续读使徒行传，我们看到第二个使徒性中心很快的在安提阿建立起来，
This time it was in the city of Antioch.
就是在这安提阿这城市里。
Now, see, the church started down in Jerusalem.
耶路撒冷教会开始，
By Acts chapter 8, they had spread out and evangelized Judea and Samaria.
那在使徒行传第8章已经到犹大跟这个撒玛利亚。
By Acts 9, there were strong, healthy churches throughout Judea and Samaria and Galilee.
所以在使徒行传第9章，也包括加利利这些都有健康的教会被建立起来。
But then,
但那个时候，
in Acts chapter 11,
在使徒行传11章，
the church makes a huge jump far to the north to the city of Antioch,
但是整个教会就往北一跳跃到了安提阿。
one of the greatest cities in the world in that day.
在那个时候是世界上其中一个有名的大城。
And what happened in Antioch changed the world.
在安提阿所发生的事改变了世界。
See, in the huge cosmopolitan city of Antioch, a major shift took place in the church.
所以在巨大的安提阿的这个都会里面，教会出现重大的改变。
Acts 12 says, in Antioch, for the first time in history, Messianic Jews from Jerusalem began telling Gentiles about the Messiah.
在历史上第一次信主的犹太人把福音传给外邦人，就在安提阿，
And Gentiles were getting saved.
外邦人就开始得救，
Lots of Gentiles were getting saved.
很多的外邦人开始得救。
Can you imagine that?
你能够想象这一点吗？
Gentiles coming to know the Jewish Messiah and getting saved.
外邦人开始认识到犹太的弥赛亚，然后他们开始得救。
But see, that was God's plan all along.
但这神起初的心意就是如此。
Israel was called to be a priestly people, a light to the Gentiles.
以色列一直被选作祭司的国度，而且是列邦的光。
That was their call. That was their destiny.
这是他的呼召和命定。
God's plan was for believing Jews and believing Gentiles to come together as one new man in the Messiah.
神的计划是要信主的犹太人跟万邦人成为一个新人，
But see, that could not happen in Jerusalem.
但这事不能在耶路撒冷发生。
Jerusalem was important as the womb of the church, but it lacked a key ingredient for God's plan.
耶路撒冷是初代教会的母腹，但是有一个很重要的因素，在耶路撒冷没有。
Jerusalem had no Gentiles.
耶路撒冷没有外邦人，
And so God brought the church up to the great city of Antioch, the melting pot of every race and tongue and ethnic group.
所以神带领教会到安提阿这样一个大都会里面，因为包括各样族群的人在那里。
And there it established a second apostolic center.
所以就在那里设立了第二个使徒性的中心，
It was like a second Jerusalem.
就像是第二个耶路撒冷。
It's interesting to see how they did it.
这过程这是很有趣的。
When the church in Jerusalem found out what was happening in Antioch, they sent Barnabas down to check it out.
当耶路撒冷教会听到安提阿发生的事情，他们就差遣巴拿巴去看看。
Now, Barnabas was an apostle.
巴拿巴是使徒，
He wasn't one of the original 12. He was a second generation apostle.
他不是第一代原先12个，他是第二代的。
Acts 14:14 says both Paul and Barnabas are apostles.
使徒行传14章14节提到保罗和巴拿巴也被称为使徒，
So Barnabas goes up to Antioch and sees what's happening there.
所以巴拿巴去到安提阿要看那边发生什么事情，
Gentiles are getting saved.
外邦人也得救了。
He said, "This is God."
他说这是出于神啊，
And so as an apostle, he began to set the church in order.
因此作为使徒，巴拿巴就在那边为教会设立次序。
The church at Antioch had an apostolic foundation.
所以安提阿教会也有使徒作为根基。
1 Corinthians, God says, first, apostles.
哥林多前书说了，首先第一个是使徒，
But Barnabas knew that more than just his apostolic gift was needed.
巴拿巴知道那边不单单需要使徒的执事，
So God directs him to a teacher named Saul.
于是神指引他去找教师扫罗。
In Acts 11, Barnabas went to Tarsus to look for Saul.
所以在使徒行传11章，巴拿巴去大树找扫罗，
He brought him back to Antioch.
他把他带回到安提阿。
And for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul taught the church, taught great numbers of people in the church.
所以他们足有1年和教会一同聚集，教导了许多人。
So Antioch became a training center.
所以安提阿成为一个训练的中心。
But then in Acts 11, we're told during this time, some prophets came from Jerusalem to Antioch.
使徒行传11章又提到，在那些日子有几位先知从耶路撒冷下到安提阿。
What was happening?
发生了什么事情呢？
Well, the Antioch church started with an apostle.
安提阿教会从使徒开始，
They brought in a teacher,
他们带进了教师，
but it was not yet very strong in the prophetic.
但是在先知性的服侍还不够强，
So the church in Jerusalem sent prophets to minister to Antioch.
因此耶路撒冷的教会差派先知到安提阿去服侍。
See, an apostolic center is not independent, they are interdependent.
所以你们看到使徒性中心不是独立的，他们是互相有关联的。
What one lacks, another provides.
当其中一个有缺乏，另外一个就供给。
And finally, we come to Acts 13.
最后来到使徒进13章，
Now, notice what it says here.
注意这边所说的，
It says, In the church at Antioch, there were prophets.
他提到在安提阿教会当中有几位先知，
That's plural.
这是复数的，
And teachers,
还有
plural.
几位教师也是复数的。
They didn't just have one prophet and one teacher. Now fivefold ministry was becoming established.
不是只有一位，而且这5重执事已经开始被建立了。
1 Corinthians 12 says, once you have apostles and prophets and teachers, all the other gifts begin to function.
在林前12章说到，一旦有使徒、先知、教师，其他的恩赐就开始发挥了。
And while they were ministering to the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, Set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work I have called them.
所以当他们在侍奉主禁食的时候，圣灵说要为我分派巴拿巴和扫罗去做我召他们所做的工作。
So after they had fasted and prayed, they placed hands on them and sent them off.
于是他们禁食祷告后，给巴拿巴和扫罗按手，然后差遣他们走了。
So Antioch becomes an apostolic sending center,
所以安提阿成为一个使徒差遣的中心，
a home base to reach the nations.
是个基地，要去接触列国。
Antioch was fully established as an apostolic center.
所以安提阿已经完全的建立成为一个使徒性的中心。
But let me tell you a secret.
让我告诉大家一个秘密：
God wasn't satisfied with 2 apostolic centers.
神不会满足于只有2个使徒性中心。
Because when you keep reading, you get to Acts 19, and God plants a 3rd apostolic center.
当你继续读的时候，到使徒信19章，就看到第3个使徒性中心被建立，
In the city is Ephesus.
在以弗所，
The Antioch pattern is repeated.
在安提阿的模式就被复制了。
Paul goes there, he starts a church, he remains there for 2 years teaching his converts.
所以保罗来到以弗所建立教会，2年之久教导信徒。
Ephesus becomes a training center.
以弗所成为训练中心。
During that 2-year period, all of the cities in the surrounding province were reached.
所以在这2年当中，他们接触到整个城市附近的乡镇。
You know, Revelation chapters 1 through 3 describe the 7 churches of Asia Minor.
所以启示录1到3章提到亚细亚的有7个教会。
The first was Ephesus. It was the apostolic center.
所以第一个是以弗所，这是一个使徒性的中心。
But then from Ephesus, churches were planted in Smyrna and Pergamum,
然后从那边开始，教会在士美拿、在别迦摩被建立起来，
in Thyatira, in Sardis, in Philadelphia, and Laodicea.
然后在推雅推拉、在萨迪、在菲拉铁菲跟老底嘉。
So the apostolic center in Ephesus was not only a training and equipping center, it was an outreach center that planted new churches.
所以以弗所不单单是教导跟训练中心，也是差派和植堂的中心。
We read a little bit further, there was another apostolic center.
我们继续再读，还有另外一个使徒性的中心，
This time it was in Corinth.
这个时候是在哥林多。
The Antioch pattern is repeated again.
安提阿的模式再次被复制。
Do you get a picture of what God was doing?
有没有看到这个神在作为的这个图画呢？
As a result of apostolic centers, the early churches were not small, isolated congregations with few resources.
那使徒性中心的结果就是初代教会，他们不是弱小孤立的或缺乏资源的堂会。
Instead, every church in the territory had resources and training to multiply and expand the kingdom.
而是每个地区的教会都有资源，而且都被训练去拓展神国，
And the world was changed.
世界就被改变了。
Tell your neighbor that can happen again.
告诉你旁边人说，这会再次发生的。
So let's look at this pattern one more time.
我们再次看这个模式。
The first apostolic center was Jerusalem.
耶路撒冷是第一个使徒性中心，
They trained the saints to minister and they spread all over the territory.
他们训练圣徒去服侍，而且分散到各地。
The next apostolic center was in Antioch.
第二个使徒性中心是安提阿，
Gentiles were brought in. Paul and Barnabas taught for a year. They sent out teams to the nations.
外邦人被带进教会，保罗和巴拿巴教导1年以后，差他们到列国去。
The next apostolic center was in Ephesus.
在下一个使徒中心是以弗所，
A training center was established. The territory was reached.
训练中心被建立，而且得着亚细亚。
Then there was the center in Corinth.
然后哥林多就是第4个使徒性中心。
And you can trace down through history, city after city.
所以接着看历史上一个城市接着一个城市，
It's not hard to see the early church's strategy.
所以不难看到初代教会他们的策略，
And the church spread worldwide.
而且教会就这样扩展到世界各地。
But in the dark ages, the church abandoned God's plan.
但是在黑暗的时代，教会放弃了神的计划。
But the good news is,
但是好消息是，
apostolic centers have returned.
使徒性中心已经被恢复了。
See, the Bible shows us how to experience the harvest.
圣经已经写明我们要怎么样能够经历到丰收。
Our problem is the church has not been following the direction.
我们的问题是教会没有跟从指示，
But our God is a God of restoration.
但是我们的神是一位恢复的神，
He's restoring what the church has lost.
他在恢复教会所失去的。
Peter Wagner said in the year 2001, we entered the second apostolic age.
彼得卫跟他说，在2001年，我们进入到第二个使徒时代。
Over the next decade, we saw recognized apostles restored to the church all over the world in every nation.
在上一个10年，我们看到在世界各地方，使徒被认出，而且被恢复到教会里。
And now in this decade, we're seeing the emergence of apostolic centers just like Antioch in every territory.
那现在我们开始看到世界各地有出现使徒性的中心，就像当年的安提阿一样。
That's what the Global Sphere Center is in Texas.
这就是我们在美国德州有这个全球领域中心，
People gather there to receive fivefold ministry.
人们聚集来领受五重执事的服事。
And we send out teams to minister,
我们也差遣团队出去服事，
teachers and prophets and apostles.
教师、先知、使徒。
Everything we do, we make available free of charge on the internet.
我们所做的一切网上的资源都是免费的。
We have thousands of house churches connected with us.
晨间的家庭教会都与我们连结，
Some are large, some gather together in clusters.
有些是比较大的，他们有些是群体的聚集，
Some are very small, 2 or 3 people in their living room.
有些很小，2-3个人在客厅里面的。
But as they link up, they can all experience fivefold ministry and grow.
当他们连接在一起，就能够获得五重执事的服事，而且增长。
See, the key to operating in fivefold ministry is to be aligned apostolically through a functioning apostolic center.
所以要在五重执事当中运作，这关键是要跟那在能够发挥功能的使徒性中心有一个使徒性的连结。
That's the New Testament pattern.
这就是新约的模式。
And the good news is apostolic centers have returned.
好消息是，使徒性中心已经回来了，
They're springing up all over the world.
而且在世界各地方来兴起。
Here in Hong Kong,
在香港这里，
in China,
在中国，
in Thailand,
在泰国，
in Japan,
在日本，
in Korea.
在韩国。
And as churches align with an apostolic center and begin to develop a relationship, fivefold ministry begins to flow.
所以，当教会跟使徒性中心对齐建立关系，五重执事就可以发展，
The saints are equipped to minister.
圣徒就能够得到装备去服侍。
They go out wherever they are and begin to do the works of Jesus in the earth.
他们不管去到什么地方，就做耶稣所做的工作，在全地之上。
And so that is what God is doing in the church today.
这就是神今天在教会所做的事情。
I don't believe any of us have ever seen the church operate in true New Testament power.
我相信我们还没有看到教会运作在新约的真正的能力之中，
But I believe we soon will.
但我相信很快我们就会看见了。
God is restoring His church. Tell your neighbor, God is restoring His church.
告诉你旁边人，神正在恢复他的教会。
He's restoring it to His plan.
神在教会恢复他原先的计划当中，
He's establishing it on His foundation.
而且要建立在他的根基之上。
And we are here to proclaim at this conference the apostolic church has returned.
因此，我们在这个会议当中，我们宣告说，使徒教会已经恢复了。
Let's shout to the Lord.
我们向主来欢呼！
Hallelujah!
哈利路亚！
Hallelujah!
哈利路亚！
Now, keep standing for a moment.
让我们持续的站立。
When we return for the session later today,
等一下下午我们会再继续回来。
We want to see how the apostolic church arising
我们要看见使徒性的教会如何兴起，
affects a territory.
来影响地区。
We also want to see the war ahead for the apostolic church arising.
同时，我们也会希望看见在使徒性教会兴起之后所要面对的征战。
And what the Lord showed me was in China, there would be a triumphant people
神向我显明，在中国即将有一群得胜者，
that would align together,
他们要彼此对齐，
learn to war together,
一起征战。
and the kingdom of God would advance out of China
那神的国就要从中国开始前进，
and affect the entire world.
影响到全世界。
Now, today I think you have heard how God's heart was to develop a center where the church was the center force.
那我相信今天早上您已经听见神如何定义要兴起一个中心，而教会是这个中心的力量。
Without that government coming into place, you cannot see the enemy's plan overturned.
如果没有这样的一个政权的设立的话，你就不会看见仇敌的力量被翻转。
We see those centers arising in Malaysia
我们看见马来西亚有这样的中心开始兴起，
in the midst of a predominant Islamic culture.
在他们这样一个充满伊斯兰文化的一个氛围之中，
We see those centers arising in Russia.
我们看见在苏联有这样的一个中心的兴起，
But in China, we see a movement
但是我们在中国看见一个运动，
because of the culture of this nation
也因着这国家里面的文化，
and the government of this nation.
还因着这国家里面的政府，
We see a great movement of the church throughout all of China.
我们看见在整个中国的大地上一个教会的运动。
Over the next 10 years, you will see a divine alignment occur.
我们在未来的10年里面，我们会看见一个神圣的对齐。
I believe God has given us a model through the Chinese church in Taiwan.
我们相信，神在台湾给我们设立了一个教会的典范。
But I want to say this year we are entering into 3 dynamic years of warfare.
那我想跟大家提说，在今年我们要进入一个三个层次的一个征战里面。
So we want to impart to you tonight a mantle
所以今天晚上我们要分赐给大家一个外袍，
that will give you a new authority
能够赐予你新的权柄，
to rise up against the warfare of this region.
能够兴起来抵挡在这个区域里面的权势。
And as the Spirit of God says, you will be a strong people.
那正如神的灵吩咐我们说，你必要成为一个大能的百姓，
You will do exploits.
你们会来鼓励，
You will triumph.
你会得胜，
And you will be known for the overcoming power that is blown through this region.
也因着你们在这个身上所承载着得胜的力量，以至于你在全地被知道。
Get ready, a new move of the Spirit of God is coming to the church that is represented here.
准备好，因为神的新的一波的运动即将要临到在这里所代表的教会中。
Now let's lift our hands.
让我们一起来举手聆听。
Let's invite the Spirit of God to bring the next baptism necessary for the church to advance.
借着神的灵，让神把他下一波所要带领到教会里面的运动带进来。
Now just cry out and say, Lord, send Spirit in a new way.
让我们一起来向神求说：主啊，求你赐下一个新鲜圣灵的波流。
We are ready to advance.
我们已经准备好要前进了。
We are ready to multiply.
我们准备好要倍增。
We are ready to increase.
我们 准备好加增，
We are ready to
我
overcome.
们要准备好得胜了。
May the church that is within this place arise today.
愿在这会场中所有的教会都今日要开始兴起，
And may 100-fold anointing come upon you.
那100倍的恩膏要临到我们。
Put your hand on somebody and say, get ready, we've only begun.
让你按手在另外的人身上说，准备好了。